Assalamu alaikum, good morning, Khushamdi, Ji Ayanu, Goedemorgen.
Bakhair Ragale, Ni Hao, Chunishume, Washmale, Ohio Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal, Hale Shuma Chatore, Ahlan Basalan Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabiam, Bhalli Kare Aya. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You watching World this morning on a very fine Friday morning over here in Islamabad, but a little chilly, ladies and gentlemen. With me, I have the very amazing, the very wonderful Shiza Hashmi, and I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you so much for asking. And because it's a little sunny over here in Islamabad today, I really do enjoy the winter sun. Otherwise, I absolutely hate sunny days. What about you?
Well, I think that, I actually missed out on the sun yesterday as well because it was really cloudy, ladies and gentlemen, and I was actually feeling a little depressed too as well. I'm going to be honest because I have this habit of that, I'm going to go back home, change my clothes and sit under the sun, for a little while just to get my vitamin D on point as well.
That's
But yesterday, there was no sun at all. And I was like, hey, you know what? I probably need a little more sun. I need a little more light. And that's how I've been always, that, I've always loved to be under the sun or be in the light as well. I don't like dark nights or dark evenings
Really?
as well for that particular matter.
But that makes us like totally different because I don't even like sunrises. Can
Really?
you believe that? I don't. But so here's the thing. I think this is sort of a Pakistani winter tradition to sit out in the sun and eat either peanuts or oranges.
Yes.
And I love doing that with my family members. So I'm just waiting to do it with my in-laws this time. I haven't gotten the chance so far, but I'm waiting on good peanuts to come out.
I think that everybody's waiting on good oranges as well.
Oh,
And,
oranges as well.
my to have orange partner is my mother as well.
Really?
So, we'll go to the roof, we'll sit down over there, probably have a rug or a carpet on the floor, sit down, talk for
It's
a
so much
while.
fun.
And yeah, it is a lot of fun. But sitting down with your mother and having a conversation is a little difficult because
Really?
at times she will actually come up with topics which you might not want to talk about, and probably it might be about your father or about your
Aw.
any other sibling, and you're like, you know what? Probably we need to take a break. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's a blessing. For all of those poor, people who have their parents around, please make sure that you spend the most of the time with them as well.
Absolutely.
Make sure they're happy and they're comfortable. But
Yes.
there's one more thing which I wanted to ask you today.
Okay.
And it's very relevant to me and to all of those men out there.
Okay.
Do you know when is the International Men's Day?
There's an International Men's Day.
Yeah, there is an
Okay.
International Men's Day, and the only reason I'm talking about it is that, ladies and gentlemen, it was yesterday, which was 19th of November 2020. It was International Men's Day, and I was surprised that nobody actually talked about it. No television, no newspaper, no anchor person. Nobody actually tweeted or talked about it as well. And whenever it's like Women's Day, it's whenever it has to do something with women, everybody kind of talks about
So
it.
doesn't that make you feel that men are really not marginalized for that?
No, it does not really make me feel like that because I think men in their heads already know that, we do not really need a day to celebrate ourselves.
Well, that's a good approach as well. But well, I'm sorry if you feel that we didn't remember the day as well, because just yesterday as well we were talking about the Children's Week.
Yep.
That happens to be so important. But well, happy Men's Day to each and every single man out there who's watching. And so here's the thing, Shahzad.
Yep.
Why do you think it's so important for us, especially us, you and me, sitting here
Yeah.
every other morning,
Yep.
to talk about these days? I mean, of course, there are websites which talk about it, right? So why do we need to talk about it?
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I think for all of these days internationally celebrated or observed, I think the motive behind is to raise more awareness, and not just the awareness. I think it is to generate more political will to
Absolutely.
probably take action and to do more things conclusively as well, and to be together in a society. We might be at a stage where we really need to work a lot more than what we have done, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that all the media houses, all the people who are out there, may it be a father, may it be a son, may it be a mother, may it be the schools or the teachers or anybody.
Right.
I think everybody needs to play a role to make sure that the society is more well aware of all the facts which are out there as well, and then try to make sure that, for all of those rights which people do have, that they are given those rights and are not violated of those rights as well. And we have to do it again and again so that it creates a ripple effect, because, when you throw a pebble into the water, the ripple is going to come back to you. This is what we want, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why we observe international days.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely very well put.
I feel
actually.
great about myself.
No, you spoke well.
About
but
you
I
too.
think, I think that was a brilliant answer. And yes, that is literally the purpose that we do this. And I think it's safe to say that today's show is going to be sort of an extension of yesterday's show as
Yes.
well. So we mentioned that we are not only Pakistanis, but everyone around the globe is actually celebrating this entire week to be as well Children's Week.
Yeah.
But this particular day is Children's Day. So just
Exactly.
yesterday, I think we did put up some basic foundations of children's rights in Pakistan,
Yep.
of course, and probably how aware people are of the rights over here.
So
right?
would you mind if I give them a recap of what we
Okay,
talked about
let's do
yesterday?
it.
So ladies and gentlemen, yesterday while we were in conversation with our experts, we touched upon some of those topics which are really not very well talked about as well. So for example, when we talked about the child mortality rate in
Infant.
in the newly born babies, we were on 112 out of 120 countries. So this is how
Unfortunate.
bad the condition was. Not just that, 46% of the population of Pakistan, the latest article said, is actually kids, ladies and gentlemen. And talking about that, we have malnourishment over here, we have stunted growth over here. 7 million or more children are actually out of school. And we were talking about child rights, ladies and gentlemen, and we, couldn't, because we didn't have time, so we couldn't touch upon bonded labor and all of those other issues as well. Not just that, this time around, ladies and gentlemen, since we all know that it was COVID, so COVID has actually had a direct impact on the violation, and there were a lot of rights of children which were violated because they weren't going to school, they weren't
Exactly.
going out, so obviously everybody had to stay in. There was a pandemic thing, but then there are rights for children, and we need to speak about it. We do have experts over here who are going to talk about it. We have children who are going to tell us whether they know about their rights or not. But this time around, what United Nations want, or what UNICEF wants, is United Nations International Children Education Funds want the children to draw. It's going to be a drawing competition, and they wanted the children to draw what they want or how they want the world to be.
Oh, so you know what? Hold on to this thought, because towards the end of the show, I will ask you how you want the world to be after COVID.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I want to talk
And,
about it.
All right, so let's do it. We do have an expert, panel over here as well. But Shazad, I think, like yesterday, we did talk about the laws that do protect the rights of children over here. But right now, we did touch upon development as well.
Yes.
And I think today, entirely, we are going to talk about development, the stakeholders who are involved in the child's development, and the age that is more vulnerable towards, the surroundings and the things going on, and that actually matter in the development of the child as well. And also, well, what children actually think in Pakistan, if they do have their rights or
Yep.
not, what their rights are, or also if they enjoy going to school, because
or,
because
I'm
if
going
I
to-
had an option, I would probably miss out.
Yeah.
Don't learn anything from me,
Yeah,
though
I
it's
think
not a good
homeschooling
advice.
can be an option, and we have had kids over here on the shows, ladies and gentlemen, who've been homeschooled and were very smart and brilliant as
Yes.
well. But not just that. I think with all of this, the first ever responsibility to give the child its rights is by the parents. Are they
Yes,
willing
of
to do
course.
so? Because if they are willing to do so, there'll be a lot of questions and there'll be a lot of question marks. We have a small report. Please go ahead, take a look at that. When you will come back, we'll introduce our amazing guest panel with you too as well. Let's see what they have to say about Children's Day. Let's do this.
World Children's Day is observed on 20th November every year to promote international togetherness, awareness among children worldwide, and improving children's welfare. Since 1990, World Children's Day also marks the anniversary of the date that UN General Assembly adopted both the Declaration and the Convention on Children's Rights. Mothers, fathers, teachers, nurses, and doctors, government leaders and civil society workers, religious and community elders, and media professionals, as well as young people and children themselves, can play an important part in making World Children's Day relevant to their societies, communities, and nation. World Children's Day offers each of us an inspirational entry point to advocate, promote, and celebrate children's rights, translating into dialogues and actions that will build a better world for children. This year, the COVID-19 crisis had resulted in a child right crisis. The costs of pandemic for children are immediate and, if unaddressed, may last a lifetime. It's time for generation to come together to reimagine the type of world we want to create.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this was for a better understanding. Sadi, you did a great job with the report too as well. It was a wonderful report to look at
Yes.
and to listen to as well. But very quickly, before we introduce our guest, ladies and gentlemen, this one point which I think was superb, which we kind of came up with yesterday. Our guest actually spoke about it, and they said that the child may be from you as a parent, but you really do not actually have to take that ownership
yeah,
of the child. And I
absolutely.
think that this is the most important aspect we need to talk about.
Right, and maybe we're not using the right words. Don't take us wrong. Probably we only mean that you don't own the child. You can't own their personality. You have to let them be their own person, but facilitate them in what they want to do.
Exactly, because if we do either way, when I was a kid, if God forbid my mom wanted me to do something, and if I did the other thing, I think I would actually get a beating for that as well, which I haven't minded, so far, and I don't mind at all. And I think that these are all prayers my parents had for me, because I was actually getting prayers every single day, ladies and gentlemen, if that's the case. But without any further ado, we're very lucky that
Finally.
we've actually been joined by a panel of social activists and educationists and children over here in the studios. We'll be in conversation with them. So without any further ado, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by an educationist and a teacher trainer. She happens to be Miss Musarrat Jahazeb. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum assalam, Shahzad. Thank you so much for having me on such an important day.
Thank you
It's
very
our
much
pleasure.
for joining us, and your smile is contagious. Thank you
Yes.
very much for joining us once again.
Such a
and
lovely
alongside
face.
Miss Musarrat, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be the executive director at Bedari. She's a social activist. She is Miss Ambreen Ajaib. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Hello, good morning. I'm feeling like a child today.
Really?
Because it's the 20th November.
Perfect
It's
feeling.
Children's Day.
It
I
is.
behave like a child every day as well. This is one thing which I get to hear, but feeling like a child is a very different feeling.
It's
and we'll-
nice.
We'll get to that as well. But alongside Miss Ambreen, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that once again we've actually been joined by an educationist. She happens to be Miss Asima Abrash. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam, Shehzad and Shehzad. Thank you so very much for calling me again here on such a special day. And I
It's
have
always
so
our
many things
pleasure.
to share.
Oh,
Wow,
perfect.
and we
Yeah.
just can't wait to hear all of those as well. But thank you very much for taking our time. And last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I'm going to introduce her, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of an empowered child who knows what their rights are, and they're going to voice their concerns if, God forbid, they are being violated. And the advocate today, ladies and gentlemen, who we have over here in the studios, who are going to talk about all those children out there, she is Miss Justaju Shamim. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for inviting me to the show. I will love to talk about Children's Day.
Thank you very
That's
much for
brilliant.
joining us. It's wonderful to have you. So let's get the conversation started. Shiza, why don't you go ahead?
I actually want to begin with just the Jew over here, because you are representing, well, Shahzad said, 48% of our population.
Yeah.
So to begin with, do you know why we have a special day, in fact, an entire week dedicated to raising awareness about children's rights?
Yes.
Let us know about it. Your understanding. It doesn't have to be scripted or off a book, right? What do you understand?
I want to say that Children's Day should be promoted in Pakistan. There should be an awareness of children's rights in Pakistan. It should be promoted. So children get their rights. Because there are some children who do not get their rights, but children should get their rights. Everybody should know about the rights that children have.
You're right. And just so you know what, Pakistan is actually doing that. So today, while along with, of course, the ministers for human rights and even the Child Rights Commission is going to be speaking to everyone, but 20 national buildings are going to be lit blue today just to recognize you guys. So while you say that, yes, children should know their rights, we will take on this slowly, but let's move with the first one. Name one right that you know you have and you actually practice it on your daily basis as well.
Yeah, that is education. I go to
brilliant.
school every day. I study for my good future, and that's the basic right I should have.
Brilliant,
That's wonderful
brilliant.
as well. And ladies and gentlemen, adding on to that, other than education, obviously there's security, there's
Yeah,
food,
we'll get to
there's
that.
healthcare as well, and these are all the rights enshrined within the Constitution of Pakistan. But now let me come back to Miss Musarrat. I'm going to get my conversation very serious a little bit, but let's talk about it. Since we are not children anymore, so we really might not even think about children quite a lot as well. Obviously, it is for the person to think about their own rights as well. But what I've found out for myself is that, we are as unaware as the children are about their rights. And this is one thing which I think exists within our own society as well. And why do you think that this is the case, if it is the case?
Yeah, I mean, I won't really say that the things are very ideal,
Yeah.
and we would have every stakeholder involved in well-being if the child is aware of the
Yep.
children right.
Right.
But seriously speaking, a child today is the future tomorrow. So it is so very crucial to have a very common vision and an understanding of how do you want to see our future like.
Yeah.
What exactly is we want our children to have in future, and we have to plan that pretty in advance. Now what happened is parenting and education, and as far as providing rights to the children is concerned, unfortunately it's more of a firefighting in Pakistan. And we don't really have very, planned things we go ahead. Because I believe that the overall well-being, like you just talked about the rights to education, but it's not only that, it's the overall holistic development that we
Definitely.
think about a child, it's the overall well-being of the child.
Yes.
So the overall well-being of the child is the responsibility of the parents, the educationists, and the society at large. So unless or until we have a very shared vision and the shared value system that we want to have and carry on with, we cannot really have everybody made aware of the fact that children have certain rights that have to be protected.
Absolutely. Ms. Musarat, you brilliantly put it. But I sort of agree with you in a way where you said that it's sort of a gamble as well when we talk about parenting, especially in our society, because this is where what my understanding of this is. When you talk about child's rights, don't you think it goes back to planned parenthood? I mean,
I would
where you should be
surely-
ready to welcome someone in the world.
I would surely agree with that, because parenting is something that is the topmost priority in the life of a
Definitely.
person when you decide to be a parent.
Yes.
So unfortunately, Pakistan ke andar we don't really have any
That
training,
concept.
any concept, any ways to have young parents trained and make them understand that how crucial it is to be
Yeah.
available to their children,
Right.
and what are the very, very important things that we need to educate and groom our children about. So by the time you understand your real role as a parent, it's most of the times very late. But as I said, it's a very, very mutual responsibility. What we need to understand is what we want the child be like at home. He has to exactly, experience the same kind of values at schools.
Yeah.
And while he's leaving the school and moving on into the community as a responsible citizen,
Right.
he actually sees those values at place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So unless we bridge that gap of an understanding, I mean, we talk about a triangle all the time,
Yeah.
but what exactly are we thinking about children at different,
Stages.
Yes.
No,
Exactly.
definitely. And sorry, Shahzad, I'm cutting you, but I think that makes perfect sense, because while, yes, you said the parents have the primary responsibility, so that is at home, and then teachers at school, but that's not just a child's life. There's going to be playground time. There's going to be, the time between school and reaching home. So he is going to be exposed to each and every single person that comes in the way, and their behaviors, of course, how they treat, and all of that does have an impact on how the child turns out to be. So if you ever do see a child, be nice to them. This is what the religion teaches us as well.
And that's great too as well. But I've got a very important question over here,
All
and I
right.
think it's important because I've gone through it myself.
Should I do drum roll?
No, you don't have to do drum rolls, but I think Thais would do for that as well.
Yeah.
But Ms. Imbreen, I'm going to move on to you since you happen to be a social activist as well. So for the very first time, when I got a good news that I'm father to a lovely angel, it was my utmost effort to actually do what my father has done in his capacity for all of us when we were children. That was the first learning, and then gradually I had to change my mindset. So if I'm going to go to a shop, probably get get the formula milk, I'll actually ask the guy, okay, which one's the best one? So he'll put a gatta box, in front of me, and then he'll put a steel box in front of me, and he'll be like, this one's imported and this one's not imported. And me as a father, I'll be like, okay, I'll get the imported one, So that as a parent, you want to do the best in your capacity for your kids.
Definitely.
That's wonderful. But then just a few days ago, I was in conversation with somebody, and somebody said that, it's not about what your father could give you that you're going to provide to your kid. Rather, what your father forgot to teach you, you have to teach that to your future generation. And I think that this was something which I adopted to as well. How do we do that? Because my father kind of raised me the way his father raised him. And this is a chain process which keeps on going, and every time we come across a situation, we're like, okay, what did our father do, or what did our mother do when it was a situation of such sort? So we relate with that, and then we forecast based on the kind of decision making they did, but which is not relevant. And even Hazrat Ali says that, कि अपने बच्चों को ऐसे मत पालो जैसे
जैसे you were
तुमसे
raised.
पहले बच्चों को पाला गया.
Right.
So what do we
Times
do?
are different, right?
Well, to me, if you look at it, okay, the way your father brought you up, you need to bring your children up in that way.
Yeah.
I think that would not help the child to grow as a human being, equal human being. It's important that what child needs. When you when you see that different decades, of course, the children in those particular time periods have different needs. So now, when your child is coming to the world, her needs are different, her scenario is different.
Yeah.
It is not possible for you to understand what she actually wants if you are comparing how your father behaved with you.
Yeah.
So instead of reflecting on what your father couldn't do for you or what your father did for you, I think more important would be to know what the child needs.
Yeah.
So focus should be the child.
Yeah.
Focus should be the her needs in the current scenario. So
Yeah.
it is, I mean, if you look at your childhood, the things around you which made you happy were totally different than the things around the child
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand the needs of that child,
Exactly.
and that child should be the focus of your attention.
Exactly.
And secondly, I fully agree with you when you were saying the child is not exposed to parents only or
Yeah.
teachers only. The child goes out everywhere. So it's actually, and we need to go beyond parenting and teaching. We need to
Absolutely.
go to.
How do we do that? I mean, how do we go beyond parenting?
Well, this program is one of the things which you are actually contributing to make people feel that it's their responsibility. So children are not only the children of parents and teachers,
Yes.
it's children of that particular community as well.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely.
So if I recall my childhood, the reason I said
You-
I'm feeling
you
like
feel
a child.
like a child even today.
So if I look at my childhood, I mean the neighbor had the right to teach me something if I am doing something wrong in the street.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
right,
true.
right.
So, and then this was not something of private matter of the parents, but these days today, like the children do not get this opportunity to learn from different people.
Got it.
We didn't have we had opportunity to sit in elders meetings, but now we give children like maybe a PlayStation or something to go and sit and play there and
Because it's
don't
so
sit in the
convenient.
elders discussion. And that's why they don't question.
Right,
So if
right.
they don't question, you don't know the needs.
Yeah.
So this is my answer to how we do it.
You know, and that's brilliant as well, where you say that rather than thinking what your dad did, I think it's about the needs of the child.
Yeah.
But here is where communication comes in, right?
Yeah.
And it's so important, rather moving on to you, Miss Asma, it's so important to have a good communication, and it's in every relationship, it's not just in a child's.
Yeah.
But even more important in child's, because you're dealing with a person whose brain is not fully developed, and whatever you say is going to impact.
Exactly.
Do you have any tips on how to actually build a good communication between the parent and the child?
Thank you, Shizab, for this question. You see, I was waiting for my question that
Oh.
you know what how I'll be. But is the right?
Or you
I
can
guess the question.
also add on to anything what they said.
Yeah,
if you
the
want.
first thing I will start with this is this, that the private zone of the parenting with their kids, it is a private thing that needs to be upgraded.
Okay.
See, being a parent, being a father, being a mother is something different. Knowing your responsibility, designing your life pattern on that is something very, very different.
Yeah.
Like now coming back to the communication with your kids, it is something very personal. I guess the parents should have a separate zone time. But for example, if I have 3 kids, I should have 3 different zone times for my kids to listen to them.
Exactly.
It should not,
Because
then
they're all different.
yeah, because you see sometimes even among the siblings, maybe my elder one is not comfortable in sharing one of his, thing about the college with my child who is in PG.
True, true, true.
You see, so the need, when a child is growing, the needs, it does change.
Brilliant.
So the first thing is to address that, to know about that, and then to communicate about that. It's
Yeah.
very different.
And this is something which I've realized in recent times as well, alhamdulillah, and that is that, once I have to be in conversation with the elder one, I need separate time for that.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to hold the younger one in my arms and talk to her, she won't like it.
No.
And if I'm going to be in conversation with the younger one, the elder one won't like it. So, you have to do it separately, and that's very honest. And thank you very much for saying that. But I have a very important question. I'll come back to you, but I want to move on to Justaju over here. So, Justaju, how many times do you come across a situation where you want something from your parents and they're like, okay, you know what, probably you have to wait another 2 years to do so? And how do you feel when they say so to you as well?
Oh, I really feel that they're not giving me the time sometimes,
Oh.
it
Okay.
happens to me.
Okay.
I feel very sad, but I sometimes express that, but sometimes I do not.
All right.
My parents sometimes understand that I want this thing, it's urgent for me.
Yeah.
But when they see that it's not urgent, they just start like ignoring it a little.
Exactly. And I can feel and I can understand that pain as well, which is why, there was a reason why I asked this question. My question is usually multilateral as well, or probably have other options to it. So now I'm going to give it to each one of you as well before we head out towards a short break, and that is that we're talking about child rights. Every child is the same and the rights will be the same as well. And we have made this point, we have made this foundation that, that they are from us, but that we do not own them. Which means that each and every individual can actually play a role in child's development and providing the rights as well. So fortunately or unfortunately, not everybody has got rich parents, not everybody has got poor parents. So it's always a mix. Now, for all of those kids having parents who really cannot afford what the kid wants, what should they do? And for all of those parents who are very rich, but they do not have enough time for their kids, what should they do for their kids as well? And where do you think that the society needs to come in that, okay, you know what, you can do it, probably we can do it for your kid as well. Why don't we have a society, because we keep on saying that we need an inclusive society, but why can't other people step up? God forbid, if you're in a problem, your kid cannot make it to the school, you're in need of money or fee or anything or any assistance, why can't the neighbor provide that? If the neighbor can correct me when I was a kid that, son, this is not a fair thing to do, and if the neighbor is seeing that, that the parent is having a problem making sure that their kids are well fed or having good education, why can't everybody step up for them?
Like shared responsibility,
yeah,
right?
shared responsibility, because kids are for everybody, man.
Right,
They're
just
flowers to everyone.
for better understanding, I have an example very quickly
Yeah,
though.
sure, go ahead.
So in Presentation Convent, I used to study in Murray. I loved the system. There was no concept of buying new books. So like they used to travel within the students of the school, right? So no matter what background they were belonging to, they never felt excluded, or they never felt like they didn't have new books, because the school had the books, and then they would pass on to the juniors, and then their juniors. So this shared responsibility basically.
Yeah, it's not only, Shiza, the shared responsibility, it's something more beyond that. And that is that we parents need to understand that the Allah Ta'ala has blessed every parent with a child, not to then put him in a race and a competition and make him realize that the life is only about achieving certain things. For that matter, if we have this very common understanding of that every child is blessed with certain potential and is an individual who can contribute towards the larger society and community later in life, we would not really compartmentalize or would actually grade people as poor or as rich or all. Then we would believe that every child has a right to certain things, and we're all responsible for that. One thing that the biggest mistake that we making as parents nowadays is like Asma talked about communication gap as well.
Yes.
Half of the age we're teaching our children to question, and half of the rest of the age we're telling them not to speak.
Right.
So, I mean, somewhere we need to understand that they are not only children, they are an individual who are taught in a way, because that is the vision for our own children, that they should be thinking being, they should be understanding their role in the society and how they actually move on. So we have to give them a chance to say what they want to.
Yes.
And parent at some time and point have to come to the page. They have to understand these children. So the biggest problem that I see around in our community in general is that there's a lot of communication gap. And for parents, why we fall back on very traditional style of parenting that we would have seen 30 years back maybe with our own parents is because that's easy to implement. I mean, because we think that is the way we can control children. And
But
children
those
are
kids
not
were
to be controlled. They should be guided. They should be supported. They should be given this confidence that they can achieve all that they want to have in this world. Allah Ta'ala has blessed them with a great
And
potential.
it's wonderfully explained as well. We have to rush out towards a small break, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to leave everybody with a thought as well. So if I'm going to go back in when it was 1990s or the early 2000s, I still remember when my grandfather was alive. All my grandparents were alive, alhamdulillah, and I witnessed that, for all of those people who were living within the same vicinity where we were, and if there was anybody, because our father or our uncles, everybody was working and they had a good amount of money for themselves to actually have a good life.
Right.
They started investing in other people's kid, and they would continue to do so, and they will pay for their fee. They will make sure that they're going to play their role in getting them married, or looking after the finances and everything. And it was a shared responsibility back then. So we have moved to nuclear family systems, and now we've actually increased our burden for our own selves as well. What do we need to do for the future of these children as well, and how are we going to come back to that system where it was understood by the society and the community we lived in that it is a shared responsibility, something which I'm going to ask you. But ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going for a short break. We're going to say bye-bye to Justaju over here, and we're going to have another hero replacing her for today's show as well, and let's see what he has to say and what he has to share about child rights as well. So we are heading out
To a very short break. Stay tuned. Good morning. Welcome back to World This Morning, ladies and gentlemen, with Shazad Khan and Shiza Hashmi, where today, along with you all, we are learning how to give the best childhood to the children of Pakistan so that, well, they can grow up to be amazing human beings.
exactly.
But one
Yes.
more thing, sorry Shazad, I'm cutting you. We actually have a very important day to celebrate over here in Pakistan today, which happens to be
Yeah, which happens to be, ladies and gentlemen, in relation with the kind of conversation we are having today as well, because I think for our kids, it is very important to know who our heroes are and who our heroes were as well. So today it happens to be the death anniversary of Faiz Ahmed Faiz Saab as well, who is one of those legendary poets who have actually made Pakistanis proud all over the globe. And not just that, he
Definitely.
was a great poet, he was a great author as well. So today I'm actually going to share a couplet as well.
Okay.
आए तो यूं के जैसे हमेशा थे मेहरबान, भूले तो यूं के जैसे कभी आशना न थे.
Oh, wow.
wow.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
And you know that he was actually described as a man of wide experience, like having been a teacher, an army officer, a journalist, and a trade unionist and a broadcaster. So basically, he had pretty amazing and progressive thoughts. And some would also label him as a Marxist, which is, well, pretty cool to be educated like that.
And
No?
it's even the 104th anniversary of Ahmed Nadeem Qasmi Saab as well. So ladies and gentlemen, for all of those kids who are out there, we really need to know about our heroes as well, ladies and gentlemen, and celebrate them at every step of our life, because these are the people who shaped the future generations back then as well. And we definitely need people of such sort as well.
Right, absolutely. It is Ahmed Nadeem Qasmi Saab's 104th birthday, you said?
Yes,
Brilliant,
Nice.
brilliant. So, well, such an important day, right?
it is.
I mean, this is what we have to do, Shazad, not only to teach children, but ourselves as well, to, well, value these legends, right? A national hero. I mean, we should definitely learn about their work, how they contributed towards sort of conserving the culture and history of our country as well. And then till date, we have their work in our textbooks, which is brilliant.
Exactly.
Right?
These are the people who actually shaped generations in a way that we can actually rely on. You know, even now, actually, before going out towards the break, I said that, you know, we need to talk about the era when it was 1990s and early 2000 as well. I
Yes.
still remember that my grandparents used to have a conversation while, you know, saying couplets as well.
Oh,
You know, so, you know, my dadi would say a couplet and then my dada would say a couplet, and, you know, that's the kind of conversation they would have. It was very literary back then
That's
as
so
well.
sweet.
Not just literary, it was philosophical as well, and we believed in the kind of vision they had as well. So ladies and gentlemen, it's always important to remember your heroes who actually gave us what we wanted and they gave us the right direction at that point of time, which we might have lost somewhere in between.
Well,
Just because we didn't continue to kind of, you know, celebrate them.
Yeah, of course, we're a different generation than before. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, since we are still celebrating Children's Day, we have a sweet little angel over here in the studio. And, well, let's welcome him right away.
He
has
is the
been
one and
studying-
only Mr. Rayyan Bukhari. Hello Rayyan, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for calling me here.
Thank you very
It's
much.
our
It's our
pleasure.
pleasure. You know, to look at you smiling is everything. Everything's done, man. That's it. That's all we wanted. We want our children to smile, to be happy, and to do whatever they want to do in the right parameters. That's the only thing we want. But what do you want for yourself?
I want that the children should be having the knowledge about the children's
Right?
rules.
Yeah,
Right,
that's good.
yes.
Children rules. So, do you know? Do you have any sufficient knowledge to provide us with?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The children's rule, they should be kept safe in a safe environment
Yeah.
where nobody can harm them,
Yes.
Absolutely.
and they should be given the knowledge
Yes.
of their rules.
Of the
Of
rules. Yeah.
safety.
Of
Yes,
the
Rayyan,
children.
you're right.
That's
And
good.
you very rightly said that safety is very important for children. And this is one of the rights that, of course, every child has, right?
Exactly.
And Shazad, this really breaks my heart, where earlier in the show you mentioned about how during this extended lockdown, a lot of children were actually violated of their right. Of course, there's been domestic abuse, there's been sexual abuse,
Yeah.
bonded labor, whatnot. So many things that are really disturbing to talk about, especially I don't want to in front of these beautiful angels.
Yeah.
But Rayyan, I'm so happy that you know your rights. And you know what you should do? You should keep teaching these things to your friends as well, okay?
Okay.
But
Okay.
I have a very important question, Rayyan. Now, what I want to ask you is, and you can say whatever you want. You know, you have that liberty today, and you're going to get it every single day as well. Now, God forbid, if you are not in a safe environment, what are you going to do?
I'm going to ask someone for help
Yes.
Yup.
and say them to take me to a safe place.
Wow, that's wonderful. And you should actually seek help from somebody whom you trust, okay? Not everyone, stranger danger, you know that, right?
Yes.
And do you know about good touch and bad touch as well?
Yes.
Wow.
We should not ask the strangers, the bad people, for help.
Wow, that's wonderful as
Absolutely,
well.
yes.
I think you're on point. Your parents are doing a wonderful job as well. But very quickly, coming back to what I asked before heading out towards a short break, shared responsibility so that every child can enjoy what every other child is actually enjoying.
Ms.
Please go
Umran,
ahead.
let's begin
Yeah.
with you.
Well, I work with rural community children living in South Punjab or remote areas, and then I have observed that these material things don't matter to them most of the time. What they want is the confidence and trust. The best gift you can give to the child is that you trust them; they are not lying. Whenever they come back to you and tell them something is happening, it's important to trust them. One thing which is the biggest gift which you can give. The second is the confidence and space to create things. I have seen children creating their own games, creating their own kind of toys to play with in the rural areas when they don't have money.
Yeah,
for this.
exactly. I've
So
seen
it's
that.
important that if you give them trust, then sky is the limit for their creativity.
That is
Exactly.
true.
So this is something, I mean, material support as a community and shared responsibility also may contribute, but it may create a dependence as well.
Exactly.
But if you give them a trust, and if you give them a space to create, and if you give them a confidence of who they are, if they are coming from a rural community, from a poor family, even then they are equal, they have equal rights as that from an elite class child
Right.
or something.
Exactly.
It's very important to tell them that it's as equal human being, they have all the equal rights and they have all the equal space, and this confidence will take them to the situation where they will be actually performing really great.
That is
Indeed,
that
and
is true.
that's true as well. And I support what you've said, because this
I
is
just
something
want to
which I've
quote
heard
an
from
example, if
myself.
you allow
Sure.
me. In rural areas, it's 7.4 million girls go out of school. They drop out from the schools just because schools are not accessible for them.
Yep.
We did a small activity in some areas where we, along with the cooperation from the community, we gave bicycles to the girls. So the girls going to school from class 6 to 10 were started going to school on bicycles. So it not only ensured the access to education, but the level of confidence they achieved from the riding a bicycle. It's very important that, I mean, they are different girls in 1 year even.
Yeah.
They are
That's
different
nice.
girls, and they
That's
are
really
actually
nice to hear.
teaching how to ride a bicycle to others. By the way, do you know how to ride a bicycle?
I do, and it's
I
so much
don't.
fun. You don't?
I mean, I don't. I mean, in our society, girls are usually don't encouraged, are
Okay.
not encouraged to
Right.
ride the bicycles.
That's true.
And many of the women don't know how to ride a
But do
bicycle.
you know how to drive a car?
Yes, I know.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I'm
You
the
know,
opposite. I don't
think-
like driving
I
cars.
think having 4 wheels rather than 2 is better.
No, but the cycle,
No, it's-
the bicycle and the
Sanjeev,
bike,
Experience.
I truly get
the
that.
confidence which the girls gain from the bicycle, and then falling down and getting up and maintaining themselves, it's very,
I
very
truly
important.
get that as
True,
well, and
true.
agree to your point. But I was trying to refer to for all of those people who are out there that, you know, the situation is not that bleak. We're getting better every single day as well. So I want Miss Asma to actually wrap up the entire show for us, and whatever message you have, please go ahead.
Shahzad, I have a message for all the parents out there. Please don't teach your kids what to think.
Yeah.
Rather than just guide them,
Yes.
motivate them how to think.
Exactly.
Right?
And
So this is the thing, you see, I want all the parents to do, first of all. Second thing is, please listen to them, whatever they are saying, and try to come to their level to answer them. It's, you see, the psychology is a way different of a child and of an adult. You see, I'll just quote a little example here. My son wanted to be a hawker when he was 2 years old.
Okay.
You see, I said, all right, fine. But then he wanted to be a gardener. But today he wants to be a scientist. You see, so it's all right. Give them confidence, whatever they are thinking. Take them to the society out to see what are the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Don't
Right.
please implement your instructions
and
your
don't jump onto
thoughts.
conclusions.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
important. But thank you very much for
Brilliant.
being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation with all of you. I think you've shared some pivotal information which will be very helpful for teachers and parents as well at the same time. But coming back to what Shiza actually asked me right at
That's
the
what I was
beginning of the
going
show, and that was how I want the world to be post-COVID. And there's only one simple thing which I'm going to say, and that is that I want...
But sorry, speak on behalf of the child in you, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to speak on behalf of a child and everybody who's out there, that I want equal opportunity for everybody out there.
Well, that actually matters as well.
Yeah, sure.
And you know what? Just the moment that comes in, all these movements, including the one that bothers a lot of people like feminism, it's going to go away, because this is equality, right? Equal opportunities is what everyone's looking for. But ladies and gentlemen, you individually can actually make a huge difference in a child's life. And can I tell you something? It will make such a big impact on their personality. Even when they grow up to be adults and have the kids of their own, they're going to remember the one kind thing you did to them. So
Exactly.
please make a change today. Do something kind, maybe, well, even pass a compliment, it's going to make a whole day
Yes.
of someone.
Random act of kindness.
Definitely. Write to us on our Facebook page to let us know what you did. The Facebook page is with the name of,
World This Morning on your television screens down below.
on Twitter,
World This Morning without a G.
YouTube,
YouTube, it's World This Morning once again.
and the repeat of the show you
The
can
repeat,
catch.
ladies and gentlemen, will actually be at 12:05
Yes.
anti-meridian, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, for all of those people who don't know what anti-meridian is, ladies and gentlemen, it is the complete form of AM, which actually means before midday. In fact, so if you're going to do it at night, obviously it is before
Right.
midday as well. So it is 12:05 anti-meridian. Please make sure that you tune in. Look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. Take care.
Jummah Mubarak.